How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Shepherd Station. I know that the look is a little bit different today. We don't have Andy with us. Andy is on vacation. Hey, Andy, hope you're having a good time. Enjoy your time with your family. We don't have Marcus with us today. Marcus had some family things that take place, and our prayers are with you, brother. I hope if you need anything, you call us, and we love you. It's just me and Thomas today, and you're going to get some really, really funny banter, maybe. Our thoughts on things. You may look at us, on the screen and go, "These guys have lost it," but that's okay because we want to bring you some good content today, and hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Andy's not here to keep us grounded, to keep us on track.
Thomas is going. I'm actually going to give the disclaimers today. These are going to be honestly thoughts on, some of the things that we have on our mind and some of our opinions about things. And which is really what this whole show's about anyway. We want to lead you guys to be better men. We don't have it all together ourselves. We screw up all the time, but we are really trying, and we are listening to the one that is the ultimate leader and teacher in that, and that's all we can really do. Like I said, we have a new look today. We're trying some new things out. Hopefully that, we're going to get all our stuff set up soon. Here at the Stockyard, we're in the process of expanding. And so we got a lot going on. So we're trying to kind of tie into all that. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on. We're going to get an X soon, I promise. I think we got a TikTok. He even said we got a TikTok.
We do have a TikTok. We do have a TikTok.
So check us out there. Go to our Facebook, or not our Facebook, but our website. Check us out on YouTube. That's the biggest platform we got right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're steadily growing on YouTube right now.
I like
doing
YouTube.
Really good.
That's good. Spotify, anywhere you can listen to us, man. Just go check us out. And you know what? We need to. I'm sorry, my words get mixed up sometimes, so just bear with me, guys.
Did you know Spotify's doing video too now?
Yeah, we're on that. I watched it on there.
Yeah. Oh, you did? You watched it?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't pay for Spotify, so I've not seen it.
So I'm going to give a plug to the Sean Ryan Show. Everybody knows that if you listen to us for any length of time, I listen to that guy a lot.
Not a sponsor.
We're not a sponsor. We're not getting anything for that. But man, I really like the stuff that he puts out. But they don't do video for his. But on
Spotify?
Yeah,
really.
Everyone that I listen to, you just get to see his picture on there. But when I pulled ours up to listen to the last few that we did, we actually have video on
Oh, wow.
So I was thinking, okay, well, Thomas made it where we can do video, but that's cool.
It automatically started allowing us. Yeah, it let us put in the videos.
Weird because you can go to YouTube and watch Sean Ryan's interviews, but you can't watch them on Spotify.
Huh. They didn't really announce it really well. Like they kind of just, when I went in there, I just saw, I can upload a video now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how, it kind of snuck in the back end, to be honest. It wasn't super obvious.
They'll probably, it's a free trial. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, something. Maybe there's only a few podcasts that they're choosing to let do video right now. I don't know.
We're lucky. In 2 weeks, they'll take it off and say, hey, you got to change your subscription or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to pay for that. It's like,
and hey,
put a paywall up.
Good lead into, we need your support. So go to the stuff, man. Check us out. Subscribe.
Yeah. Share it with your friends.
I'm not begging you for money, but, hey, if you can help us out in any way, because a lot of the stuff we do does cost. And we want to be able to give back to you guys. We want to be able to give back to the community. We have a lot of things that we want to do, and that stuff does cost money. Yeah. So, if any way you can help us out, we have a way that on our website that they can donate. Mm-hmm. We have a Patreon.
Yeah,
that we're working content on. We're working on that content.
We'll get it out soon.
Yeah, as soon as we can. Just all the different ways you can do it. You can buy Shepherd Station merchandise from our website and support us that way. And whenever somebody sits there and says, hey, what's a Shepherd Station? You can send them to our stuff.
Yeah. Let me kind of give you guys a battle plan, I guess, of what the Shepherd Station is, what we're doing here. If you look at our website under the About section, it says protect, lead, and serve. We've kind of reframed our vision to help men learn how to protect, lead, and serve. And each one of those categories has a mission behind it. So the protect part is about, we're going to start working on courses. Eric and Andy have over 30, I feel like combined over 60
years.
60
years combined over.
Yeah, combined of law enforcement training, and they've taught and they've trained and they've done so much stuff that we just felt like it made sense to put that content out there for others that might need it. And so part of our Patreon is going to include these courses and things that they're working on that we're going to start recording, where they're going to be teaching you how to do self-defense, home defense.
You know, a lot about that is, though, is, Andy did over 30 years, retired. I've got that, the same amount of time. And, you see the end of those careers, and we still want to give back. We still feel passionate about that stuff.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to, still, in our minds, serve.
Yeah.
And give back to people that can benefit from that.
Right.
So
right.
that's what we want to do.
Yeah. That's right. And so that's the protect side of things, is that they want to continue to put out that information for others to help them learn how to protect themselves and protect others, be there when we need to be there. And we talked about this on one of our other podcasts, but don't figure out what you're capable of when the moment comes. Let's get it together before that, and that's part of that protection.
Yeah, we call that bad timing.
Yeah. You don't want to know how to shoot a gun or learn how to shoot a gun whenever you need to shoot it. You gotta know how to use it before that. So you don't want to know how to learn how to defend yourself when you've got to defend yourself. You've got to learn that beforehand. So
you know what the 7 P's of planning are, don't you?
No, I feel like I do. I've heard this before, but I can't remember right now.
Prior proper planning prevents poor performance.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Tony always says, fail to plan to fail. That's the idea.
Right. Yep.
And so I've always incorporated that into my life. So that's the protect side. The lead side is the podcast, all of these free resources that we put out there for all of our listeners, all of our supporters. We try to put as much free resources out there. We want to provide as much value to you as humanly possible that we possibly can. And so we put out all this free content, all this these leadership videos and podcasts and things like that to help men and just anyone in general really become better leaders.
Yeah.
And then the serve side of it is we're going to have events where you can come out and you can be a part of what's going on and see what it takes to really be there for your community. And we're planning that out as well. There are a lot of different things that we've got planned for that. So
yeah, we started it out as, we want to inspire the next generation of first responders. And I think it just has grown so much more.
Yeah.
Now we want to inspire the next generation of all of you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, we're at a point in our society and in time that we've got to step up and we've got to take those leadership roles and we've got to actively do the right thing.
Right.
And if we don't, I'm going to go this far, we're going to end up losing our country. We're going to end up losing everything. If we don't start stepping up and doing what needs to be done, and even sometimes when, that's in the face of adversity, hard times, what have you, if we don't step up and take the moral high ground and follow Christ in all this, we're gonna end up losing.
Yeah, yeah. We'll lose this physical battle. There's a physical battle going on as well as a spiritual. And there's a war for principle. I'll say, principle in America specifically. The ability to have the freedom to share Christ. There's just freedom in general to do the things that we feel led to do by the Lord. Hey, Clay. I was wondering what you were looking at. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on over here? We got Clay.
Well, he came in and he was asking for crayons. I don't know what that has to do, outside of him being a former Marine.
Yeah.
Where's the donuts?
Yeah.
So no, we have Clayton Lassiter. Hey, grab a chair. See if we can pull him in here. I don't care.
He could totally join us. We'll hook up another
Everybody
mic.
Give us a few seconds and we'll hook up
we'll take a break
mic
real quick.
This is Clayton Lassiter. Clayton Lassiter has been on our show before.
Yeah.
We didn't video that one.
We
did,
but I had some major technical issues at that point. We've been good since then. Okay. Everything's fine now. We fixed it all.
When you listen to him talk, if you've been listening to us, you'll remember him.
Yeah.
He's been with us before. He's the pastor at
Headland Methodist.
Headland Methodist. I'm sorry, I was going to say First United Methodist, not First United. Headland Methodist
Every
here
time.
in Headland, Alabama. So welcome back, Clay.
Thanks.
How
Thanks.
are you?
Yeah.
Great, man. Well, I even told you that I'd be here about 2:10, 2:15.
So why are you messing with my show, man? I'm trying to put a whole skit out here, and you're just messing with me.
I know.
He likes to do that. Oh, if you don't know that, you don't remember, he's a former Marine. We give each other a hard time. He talks about me eating donuts. I talk about him eating crayons.
I wish I could go get the painting and bring it on.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like-
It-
It's
That's a good
a pig with a donut in its mouth.
That's a good painting.
And we just need to put Eric.
I'm gonna put, you know what? I'm gonna put it right
Oh,
there.
yes.
oh
That's
my
where I'm
gosh.
I'm gonna hang it right
Oh,
there.
geez.
Can you? So what we need is that, a picture of a crayon,
There you go.
and
and
then-
then you just get it. Yeah.
and then we'll just get a microphone with a Bible.
there. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are
There's
we
no
gonna
real.
do?
What's
What
the
do we-
stereotype for a pastor? I guess.
do we
What would
do?
you say,
Well,
preacher?
it depends on what, if we go Catholic or not. But,
Oh,
What are we gonna do for Andy?
We could put some sneakers up there, some Air Jordans.
for
or something.
Andy, just put a picture of an AARP card.
Hey, I'm only three
Andy's going to
years.
see this
Oh
and
my
be in my
gosh.
office.
I'm only 3 years behind him, so
Hey.
You're not there, but you're not.
I'm not there
You're
yet.
not 55.
I love
I'm
that.
not there
Hey,
yet,
AARP, you're not a sponsor yet. If you want to, just talk
thank
to
you.
Andy.
No,
Thank you.
I
This podcast has unofficially been broadcasted and in conjunction with AARP.
AARP.
I actually got an AARP thing in the mail the other day. It really hurt
Did
my
you
feelings.
really?
It really did.
Did you throw it out and say, "Not today, Satan"?
Yeah, I did.
Was that
I
the
actually threw it
here's your
away.
sign?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I got
Erica
you.
laughed uncontrollably.
Oh, I bet.
She
I
did.
bet. I don't know what I would do if I got an AARP.
Probably assume that your identity has been stolen.
Yeah, probably, because
Although
obviously I'm too young for
you
that.
do have a pretty common name.
Yes, I do have Thomas Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
get much.
I mean,
common than
you're
that.
like
No,
one. You're
I
like
know.
one step away from John Doe.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
right. You're
Hey, guys,
100%
I'm Tom
right.
Brown.
John Smith, I feel like is
Tommy
even
Brown.
more.
What's-
Tomas.
Yeah,
What's
Tom.
everybody in the CIA? Their last name's Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, that's
So I
right.
guess he would be more like the DEA or something.
NSA.
Some offshoot
I mean,
for sure.
how often a day do you think, what can Brown do for you?
All right, let's get into what we're actually going to
Oh,
talk
man.
about.
What are we
today,
talking
guys.
about?
All right, so what we're going to talk about today.
Hey, I was gonna segue so well. What we were talking about was gonna segue so well, and then Clay came and just ruined
Just
it.
ruin the
Wrecked
whole
it.
Wrecked
thing.
it.
Leave it to
But
the Marines.
Wreck it,
He's
Ralph.
gonna have a lot of really good stuff to say about
I hope
this.
so.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. What's our subject?
It's
Well,
about.
today-
I
Go ahead, Tom.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that it's gonna be talking about what it takes to be a man. What is a man?
You know what? So I'm sitting there, and my wife sends this thing to me, and she says, "You guys need to talk about this." And it's this guy talking. Obviously, they're doing another podcast, and he's talking about, "Hey, fellas, if you really want your wife, and this is not going to be, about getting your wife to be sexually attracted to you, but if you really want your wife to be sexually attracted to you, then you need to be the spiritual leader in the home, because a godly woman, that's what she wants." And that kind of sent me down a road of like, man, that would be a good conversation piece for us to talk about. Not because I'm trying to, hey guys, listen, we all know if you're married out there, your wife being attracted to you, that's a good thing. Okay. So
you don't want the opposite.
no,
Amen.
we really like that. And if
She needs to look at you like a 1980s love song with hungry eyes.
there you go. Okay. And if my wife is listening,
Oh,
okay,
my
so
If his wife is listening, my wife is not going to listen.
My wife told me the other day. She's like, I don't think I've listened to a single one.
Erica hasn't either. You know, the first one she listened to was Amir's.
Wait.
Amir's?
I've got to ask a question for everybody in the group. Your wife's listen?
Wow.
Oh, well,
do not-
anyway, that's a wife
thoughts
or
and opinions
woman
of
watching
Clayton
this right
Lassiter
now.
are not the
said,
thoughts and
you know what?
opinions of the
Screw
Shepherd
them.
Station.
I'm
So-
just asking for a friend.
We have to put disclaimers out. He is a Marine. Just remember that.
That's funny.
I'm kidding,
I
guys.
thought I
All
was
the
a
Marines
former
out there, I
Marine.
am kidding. I love you guys. I really do. I respect you.
Gotta
It's
keep
all
the-
jokes. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Disclaimers.
But that was the thing that
Yeah.
she sat there and she said this would be something really good for you guys to talk about. But that sent me down this whole trail of what does that mean for men to be the spiritual leaders in their home, because that encompasses so much.
Yeah.
And can that actually, when you're being that spiritual leader, you're the one, what would be the word I'm looking for here? When you're the one that starts it, you're the one that instigates
Yeah.
that spiritualism in your home. You know, what does that mean for your family? What does that mean for you outside of your home? Can that move out into society?
Yeah.
And you know, let's kind of like radiate.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know, that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, totally. I think that statistically, there's a really great book called Why Men Hate Going to Church. And have you read that book, Clay, or heard of it?
No, I know the book and I've read like cliff notes of it.
It's, man, it changed my perspective on a lot of things on church. And
It didn't have a lot of pictures. So
it actually had a few. It had like a graph, you know.
that's all he looked at is pictures.
That's about it. But the book talks about how one of the things that really stood out to me was it said that when men go to church, women follow.
Mm-hmm.
If men are in leadership in a church, women will flock.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite isn't necessarily true, though.
True.
So, like, not just in church, but in leadership in general. And this is statistically speaking, that, you know, when women are in some sort of position of role of leadership, men have a hard time following women and being a part of things that women start. But the opposite isn't necessarily true. Women will always kind of go and be a part of something, even if there's a man, or it's
Well, let me ask you this.
majority men.
Is that because of the way that we were created, and there's still that, even though the world, the enemy, whatever you want to refer to it as, you know, there's this push to, what's the word, demasculate or emasculate, whatever the word is, men
Now
in society.
who needs the coloring book?
I need an actual book to read.
The word is emasculate.
Emasculate. There we
Today's
go. That's-
episode is brought to you by the letter E. Emasculate.
Man, you're going
Don't
way
say
back
that.
on that one. I hadn't seen that in a long time.
Yeah.
But no, could that be because that's the way we were created? You know,
So
that
two
sounds
things.
like it makes me sound like I'm being kind of
Misogynist.
Yeah, totally. That's all.
Do you
I
know
know.
what that word is?
Yeah, but you were still searching like the
But you
loading.
You saw the gears going. And I don't want to sound that way, but that's the way God created us. You know, the man is to be the head of the family.
Sure.
The woman is to be the helpmate that is right beside him.
Correct.
And she is to be. So many women get wrapped up in this submissive to his authority, and then so many men really take that out of context too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've got Ephesians 5 preloaded right
That's
here.
that's what we all literally we all got it. pulled
My
up right
question
now.
goes back to is that, you know, women want to follow that because that's the way we were created.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that might be how that goes back to that.
So yes and no. So one, if we're talking about just garden relationships, yes. But you got to remember that there's a fallen image there too. So our view of God is distorted, and so therefore, you know, if we're walking by the flesh and not by the Spirit, that's not how we're going to be wired. In fact, it says after the garden, immediately he pitted them against each other. So no, they're no longer walking side by side. They're no longer, again, the authority headship relationship. And so it's only when we are in submission to first and foremost Christ that we can even begin to operate in that.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, you know, like you were talking about, yeah, there are statistics that back up, you know, like men in church and the importance of men in church. But I also say that, you know, we can look throughout the whole of Scripture that God does indeed at times when men are not doing what they're called to do, he will ordain women to do things that men were called to do.
Right.
Why? Because he's just looking for whoever's faithful.
Yeah.
And I even think now when we think about the priesthood of all believers, that women can do, you know, I'm not going for like feminism side here, but I'm just for sake of argument, like, you know, like I look at my own wife who is called and who, when she doesn't step into her calling and she doesn't do it, like it doesn't work out. But when she's living out her calling and you know, she almost will shut people down without shutting them down. Because they get around her and they figure out there's something different. Like, hey, there's an anointing there. There's a calling on her life. And they throw the idea that she's just female out of her the vocabulary. But back to the subject matter about what is a man. Yeah. Of course, that's the hot button topic for everything. What is a woman? What is a man?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're going to open a door there. I don't know.
We're not going down that doorway.
Okay, sorry.
I was about to say, I was
Yeah.
like, that's
Thomas,
yeah,
I
okay.
saw Thomas over here. He's like, oh, no, not
That
again.
perspective.
No,
Yeah.
my pronouns are he. I'm a comedian. So,
Oh, no, I'll tell you. Mine are he. I don't use pronouns. I'm all male, guys. Okay.
yeah. Well, no, like if you even have to use that as like your identifying mark, we're probably not going to be friends. Like, there's like I try not to judge a book by a cover, but I am going to look at some of the contents.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
but
That's good.
But for me, I think about what is a man. First you got to figure out like what does a biblical man look like?
Yeah. Right.
And what does that really look like?
Mm-hmm.
And when you read that scripture from Ephesians 5, a lot of guys are like, submit to me.
Mm-hmm.
But they
stop
don't.
right
They
there.
stop. Yeah. They stop right there and they're like, yeah, girl, get in the kitchen.
Yeah.
God said it right
gosh.
here, but they don't read on.
But they don't read on. It says, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church and his body and the Savior. And he goes, but now as the church submits to Christ, right? So that means the husband, it has to be fully submitted to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Period. In other words, it's still a secondary position. It's you're in second. The great book, I Am Second.
That's a good way to put that.
More like you're third. You're really third because my job as a husband, a father, is to, and it is not an authoritarian role of you must follow me, because we all know the moment you utter those words,
What happens?
you are not in control.
Oh my gosh.
You've all met my wife, right?
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a rhetorical question.
That was
I mean,
rhetorical.
Yes.
It was.
For the
You met my
audience,
wife.
it was
So
rhetorical.
let me. You both know how it would go if I looked at her and I said, "You must submit to me." How do you think that's going to go over?
I'm going to get a phone call from you going, she kicked me out. She threw away my donuts and my
I
bacon.
need you to take
My
me
other
to the
knee.
ER.
My other knee.
It's going to get my other knee. It's going to go bad for me now.
Yeah.
In her defense, and she'll get so frustrated with me when I'm, it's not that I'm making fun of her. There's nobody better to me. She is amazing. But she's not going to take any crap. I mean, that's just the way that's going to go. She's like, you make me out to be a monster. I'm like, no, you're not a monster. You're a wonderful woman.
Erica, you should
Yeah.
hear what he says.
Stop it. She is an absolute wonderful woman. She's the best woman I've ever known. That's hard for me to sit there and say, because I used to say my mom is. But anyway, so she's
Sorry, Mom.
outstanding. She's amazing, but she doesn't take any crap. You know that. Now, in her defense, she's got a lot of things in her past that made her that way.
Sure.
On top of, she was military as well, and then she was law enforcement as well. So she's kind of been programmed that way.
Right.
But it's like you said, she does want to step into that role because she wants to live that godly life. She wants to live that biblical marriage that we both say we want to have. And when she steps out of that role, you're right, it's not as good. There's you find the little clashes there. Mm-hmm. But when she's literally, you can see her want to step into that role of, I want to do what God is telling me to do, and I want to be that biblical wife. And it's different. It's amazingly different. My job is to stay in the role that I'm supposed to be in order to help her be there too.
Yeah.
And that's where I think men get things so messed up. Because like you said, we stop reading. I say we. I'll use that as a general term. We stop reading at wives submit to your husbands.
Yeah. Pick up
We
verse
quit right
25.
there. Yeah, let's read on a little bit farther.
Yeah.
Because when we go into it a little bit more, husbands, love your wives as Christ so loved the church and gave himself for it. Now, if you don't read on into that, I think that would be telling us to love our wives unconditionally, selflessly, all the way up to the point of giving our lives for them.
Yeah.
No, all the way.
All the way.
Yeah, exactly.
All the way to the point.
Yeah.
And
Not
so many
almost.
people, no, not almost, all the way to that point. But there's so many guys that they just don't get there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, as you were saying that, like my brain thinks of, where Jesus is talking about, spirit and truth, that his people would worship him in spirit and truth. Like we talk about biblical wives and biblical husbands. And sometimes I just want to say, but what about being spiritually truth-based, and recognizing, because all of adulthood is recovering from trauma that happened as a child or a teenager,
young adult,
and then you're
whatever.
like, I don't know why I got mad. I mean, I'm only mad because dot, dot, dot. But then if you really stopped and dug even 5 seconds more, you'll find out like it's this. It's because of this. And so it's these areas of our lives, and especially when it comes to relationships. If we were modeled bad relationships, we'll always have bad relationships.
Okay. Hold that thought. I want to ask you a question.
Oh,
I've heard that before.
sure.
If you're modeled, how'd you put it? If you're modeled a bad relationship, you're going to have bad relationships.
Yeah.
You're going to mimic what you saw, right?
Correct.
I didn't have that.
Right.
All right. My mom and my father, or my father and mother, only people that they ever knew was each other.
Sure.
They were married for 49 years before he passed away. Had just a wonderful marriage. My dad is where, chivalry was taught by my father.
Okay.
I mean, he was just, you're going to hold doors open. You're going to make sure you take care of your mom, blah, 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 blah. All the way down. And amazingly devout Christian.
Sure.
So how did I go wrong? Because I am a multiple divorcee. Okay. I always believed, but I did not always adhere to, if that makes sense.
So what I hear you saying is you believe, but you didn't submit.
That would be an accurate statement, understated.
So that's point one. Point two, you probably took your social cues, not always come from your parent. So it depends on where in your childhood friends became more important, job became more important, and you took your social cues from peer level versus, in other words, even though you probably honored your father and mother and respected them, respected their marriage, you were taking your social cues and making them your gospel for relationships. So you were operating by the world standard.
That makes sense.
And so when you think about it, it's not because your parents did wrong. It's because, again, you were living in this disobedient state. And
again, understated. So
I always loved how C.S. Lewis talked about sanctification because he talked about it in terms of like owning a house. Sometimes we let Christ into the gate, and he's like standing out there like a lonely guy, like, hi guys. Just let me in. Behold, I knock at the door. And, behold, my Ring camera already picked you up. But now Jesus is, you're in this relationship, and sometimes Jesus just ends up on the front porch with the door open, and that's where we kind of keep him. And so sanctification has to get into marriage. It has to get into relationships. It has to get into your money. Sanctification, in other words, letting Jesus all the way in is the hard part.
Yeah.
Lots of Christians will let Jesus just in so they don't go to hell. But if you want to talk about be a man, let Jesus all the way in, bro. Let him put on the SWAT gear and kick down the door and take charge and be like, what a mess this is.
I feel like that's what he did to me.
Yeah.
But that's what he has to, like, he'll do that to get your attention. But then, it's that hard part is growing in grace and sanctification. And the cycle of grace is ongoing. You're constantly, if you're growing as a Christian, you're going to be a little bit in pain at times because it's those parts of you that doesn't want to submit.
Yeah.
I can agree.
Your attitudes, even your preconceived ideologies about what is a male.
Yeah.
The ego.
And what does male leadership look like? Is it, there's on my podcast, I talk about being an emotionally healthy spiritual leader. But before you can do that, you have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so when you were talking about those things, as we discerned that, I said, so it sounds like you didn't take your cues from your parents. You took your cues from
my buddies
who are probably wrong. If your buddy's on fourth marriage, it's probably not a good thing.
Might not be the one to listen to. So there was this thing, and it was said to me. I'm not going to call the name of the person that said it to me, but I remember it
for legal reasons.
Yeah, for legal reasons. I went through my first divorce. Let's see, how long had I been a police officer? 2 years, maybe. Okay, 3 at the most, and end up getting divorced. So when all that's over with, this guy looks at me and he says, and he was an older police officer. He says, "All right, well, now you're a real cop." What's that say? I mean, that's again, and you know
That says a lot.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
does.
like.
But that
Yeah.
was the I mean, the
Thomas, go.
mindset of it. You know what I mean?
I mean,
So you
Yeah.
could tell that we were all
Golly.
living more for the job. We weren't being that leader at home,
yeah.
that spiritual leader at home. We weren't living anything like we were supposed to be living. You know, and it was more important for me to arrest the bad guys and administer justice, air quote, than to be what I was supposed to be at my
Yeah,
home.
well, because I think it sounds like you grew like the police culture is a culture of fixing symptoms rather than fixing the issue. You know, because
we
that's
put Band-Aids on things.
yeah, it's like your entire family life, even, and it's like that's the thing. The nuclear family is the thing that will, if you can get that right, if we can get that right, that is the thing that will fix.
I want to hold that thought. You said nuclear family. I want you to finish, but we need to go down that road here in just a minute. So
Yeah, that will fix a majority of the issues apart, not apart from Christ, but in Christ. As long as Christ is a part of that, if he is the one that is involved in that family, we will have to fix less symptoms. I truly believe that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so that statement that your friend said to you
Right.
was idolatry. At the heart of idolatry, it's putting everything else on your own altar and sacrificing it so that you get ahead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's just, we don't need police thinking that way.
nuclear
Well,
options.
no, but you
Yeah.
will. And look, I'm not bad mouthing law enforcement. It's necessary. I was I'm 30 years in it, but that's the way we looked at things. It was more important for us to do the job. That was what we were.
I have a
That's
question.
how you looked at it.
Do you see, there might be more than these two, so this might be a false dichotomy, but is the people that get into police law enforcement, are they either do they have a strong moral compass usually, or is it like you see someone that's got a strong moral compass, they make a fantastic cop, and they usually stay that way, and they're really great guys, and then there's like the other one that's just hungry for power that comes in and
Okay.
just
Since you opened that,
like
door,
is that
I'm gonna
a
give you-
real thing, or do you feel
there's
like
two kind of
everyone
guys.
comes in?
There's two kind of people. Well, I'm going to say guys because there's
I think we need a creaky door sound on the board.
what for my knee or yours?
Opening that door.
Oh, that door.
I don't know if there is one.
You can program something in there. I know you can.
Oh, I
but-
can. I don't know that there is one already.
No, we'll find it later.
That would be great. That would be. So, all right, there's two kinds of people, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack over this, but there's two kind of people that go into law enforcement.
All right.
And I'll use men, because it's easier to describe it that way. Typically, you see, if it's a woman, typically you see a very large percentage of the women that go into law enforcement are the strong moral code. They have something that they feel so passionate about that they want to write. Okay, a lot of times it has, I want to be the voice for the female victim. And they're doing it for a very solid, good moral reason. With men, I used to tell everybody that would sit down in my car when I was a field training officer, this is one of the things we would talk about. You want to be the one that either A, you're going in it because you feel that pull to serve, that calling to be in law enforcement, because it's a calling just like anything else. We as individuals and humans are the ones that we start blurring the lines inside that calling once you've been in it for a while, because if you don't stay focused and if you lose your faith inside that, which I did, you start to see things in a different way. And that's another talk we could have for another day. But you have the one that will go in it because they were called to be in it. They have a good, strong moral compass. They want to be almost that hero. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're good.
They want to be that hero. They want to help people. They truly have what, Andy and I have referred to so many times as a servant's heart. Or you can have number two, the guy that was picked on in school, the guy that was always bullied, the guy that has that inferiority complex, and he wants to get that badge, that authority, so he can give some of that back.
Mm-hmm.
In their mind, that's kind of how they see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, well, I now have a badge. I now have authority. I'm now a police officer. You got to do what I say. And I have this power over you. When in reality, what law enforcement officers, and this is something that, you know, you guys listening out there, new law enforcement officers, whatever the case may be, you don't have any authority over anybody except what is granted during certain circumstances. You still have to police and do your job under the Constitution. I say, especially now, more than ever now, you need to follow what God tells you to do. You have no power over anybody except what's granted due to the circumstances that take place. And when I say that, somebody asked me today, so do I have to stop if a police officer, you know, tells me to? I said, not unless they have a legal reason to. There's so many people that think if a police officer walks up to me and says, hey, stop, come here and talk to me, they have to. Well, they don't. Unless a law in the state of Alabama still being a reasonable suspicion state, and you know every state's a probable cause state,
right?
And there's a difference in two, but Alabama's still a reasonable suspicion state. Unless I have reasonable suspicion to believe that something illegal or
A crime has been
committed, I have no reason to talk to you. And if I walk up and say, hey, Thomas, come here, I want to talk to you, and you look at me and say, I don't like cops, get bent, okay, have a nice day.
What do you mean? I mean, what, I make you nervous? Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And the thing is that is because we represent that, you know, that unwritten check, that authority figure. But we don't have any power over anybody. I tell guys all the time, you know, cops will go through a phase of what I always called the badge syndrome. Every cop will go through it. Every one of them. It doesn't matter who you are. I went through it. You will spend, it normally happens within the first 2 to 3 years. You get out there and you find out as a rookie, oh my goodness, this is awesome. This is great. I get to run fast, you know, after people. I get to drive fast. I get to carry a gun. This is awesome. And then you realize, okay, there's certain things that I get to do when crimes are committed and blah, blah, blah. And you start believing that you have all this power and all this authority. And your head gets big. You start growing in what I call the badge syndrome.
Ego.
Yeah. And then ultimately, how long you stay in that badge syndrome is hard to say. Ultimately, it ends up with you having your butt handed to you in one of 3 ways. Either administratively, in the court system, and or actually physically on the side of the road.
Correct.
And when that happens, you will watch 99% of officers that go through the badge syndrome. They take the right path and go, you know what, maybe I need to rethink how I do. And they start doing right.
Okay.
You have a small percentage that continue on down that and they just don't get it.
By the way, this also exists in the church. I don't know.
Hey.
It does exist in the church. There are pastors who, what would we call it? Like Bible pin syndrome?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Hiding behind the collar, the priesthood.
Yeah, I was about to say the collar syndrome.
Hiding behind the anointing oil. I don't know.
You understand the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. But it's a symptom that's in everything. When Christ was tempted, he was tempted with 3 things, and they're all the same, the basis of temptation that exists in everything. So the basic 3 forms of temptation that Christ faced in the desert: ego, power, you could say money and control, simultaneous. Idolatry is kind of similar to that. So those are the same 3 basic temptations of everybody, whether you're in law enforcement, lawyer. How many lawyers hide behind, well, I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
They hide behind the law and the power of the law. They manipulate it in order to get advantage. And you see it in churches, through pastors, CEOs, all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It gets worse when pastors, because when you're a pastor, you know your flock, you know your people, you're very hopefully involved in the community, and you start being lit off for things, and you start being like, people start doing things for you, and you can easily become like, oh wait, I can get some kickback here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's when.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying kickback in the
Hey
law
guys, I
enforcement
just
world.
want to let you know that October is Pastor Appreciation Month.
Yeah.
A little plug there.
Yeah.
Honestly, again, the Shepherd Station, we do not represent the thoughts and opinions of Clayton Lassiter. So,
Put a disclaimer across the bottom there.
that a little running disclaimer across the bottom.
But yeah, he's 100% right. And I've sat under people that, I've felt that, where it's like, ooh, you got a little, chip on your shoulder here. And it doesn't seem like anybody's ever told you that you're not doing right.
Then there's where I was going with that, because the last part of what I would teach these guys is, you go through the badge syndrome. You go through the badge syndrome, and you either come out of it. Hopefully you don't have, hopefully it's just an administrative, slap on the wrist that gets you out of it. Normally, a portion of the time, that's what it is. You got out there, you thought you were more than you were. You did something that, was frowned heavily upon, and you got your pee-pee spanked. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it wasn't something that, you got drug through a civil litigation or even a criminal litigation in court. That's bad. But really, hopefully none of these guys have to go through that physical portion of showing you're not what because you may think you're tough, but there's always somebody out there that's tougher.
Yeah.
And, the last thing I want is anybody in law enforcement to be injured in the line of duty, God forbid, killed, even though we know it happens.
Yeah.
But those are the three things that would normally snap somebody out of that syndrome. And I would tell all my new rookies, I said, here's the thing. Try to avoid going through that. If you can keep it in your mind what you actually are, you're no better than anybody else out here.
That's right.
Just because you have a badge doesn't make you any better than anybody else in the population. It actually means that you are a public servant. You're a servant to those people. And if you can keep that in perspective, I'm out here to serve these people.
Yeah.
That's where the difference is.
Well, and that's the exact same
thing for pastors.
Yeah.
So I figured out what it is. It's hiding behind the microphone.
Okay.
Bully. Yeah, we can. No. We use the microphone as our badge.
Yeah.
Because I have seen pastors get up and they will manipulate the message. They will manipulate the pulpit.
Yeah.
And people fall for it because they're like, well, it's coming from pastor, this trusted source. It happens with cops too. Here's this cop and with the ego and blah, blah. I'm trusting a police officer. And then we erode. Because the studies have shown over the last 50 years that there is this erosion of trust in law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And pastors.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, and rightfully so to a degree, not necessarily the police, law enforcement, I guess so. But, you look at what has been coming out recently. I don't blame anybody.
It's more visible now.
Yeah.
It is more visible, but I would even go a step farther. It's not just in law enforcement, because law enforcement is going to be your first line that you come in contact with 9 times out of 10 with government. I think that the erosion is with people in trust for their government. And we're getting really off of what we were actually talking about.
Be a man.
I was going to bring it all the way back around.
Humility.
Which is the
Service.
servanthood in your family. You can get a chip on your shoulder in your family too. A lot of men do, where they think their wives and their family supposed to be there to serve them.
Actually, you deserve that, because that was a really good way to bring that up.
Well, yeah. It goes
do that.
throughout everything. Law enforcement, leadership, servanthood of any sort, public service of any sort, and then all the way down to the family unit. It's if you can keep the mindset that Eric said, which is you're there to serve others, like Jesus said. Like we put everyone else above ourselves. Then you can actually lead well.
So so give an example of that inside your family, because that's how we started this. We want to be that. We want to be that godly servant for our family.
I can give you a bad example.
For our wife. For our family.
I think it's easier.
We all have those.
It's easier to understand what to do right when you look at what's wrong.
You can be firm and be fair. Bad examples are plenty. Like when we erupt, do we actually have the level of humility to go back and say, I'm sorry for what I did?
Right.
I used to not.
Yeah.
I'm learning that.
Yeah. We justification, we like to justify our things. Well, you did this, so I did this.
Yeah.
And so, but me as a leader, as a parent, nope, I have to go. If I'm going to model forgiveness, mercy, grace, take the first step.
Yeah. Here's I think a bad example that I think will show us the right example. And I think this is really prevalent, and that's why I say this. And I've felt myself do this, and it's not good. And I've had to change this about myself. when you are the caretaker of your family, okay, my wife stays at home. She doesn't have to work. I've set up our lives in such a way where that's the case.
Lucky.
No, I was going to say,
Well,
so
she-
can you adopt me?
Well, she could work. It would be helpful if she did. But we talked about it, and she likes to stay home with the kids, and so that's what she does, and that's okay. And so I work to make sure she can do that.
Yeah.
And so in that, me working, I'm the caregiver in that sense. I'm bringing in the bacon. I come home, and my thought process
Did
can
you really
be,
have to reference bacon?
I'm bringing home the bacon, the donuts, the proverbial donuts.
Okay.
He's bringing
But-
home the dough.
The dough.
Nuts.
So I'm bringing it home, and I can walk in the door and I can think, I've done my job. Now it's time for my family to take care of me. And what that does is you become apathetic to your kids. You become unintentional with their lives. A lot of men I know sit at home on their phones trying to just relax. They think because they've worked all day, they get to come home and disconnect from everything, including their family.
How does that work out?
Not good at all. Because usually somebody
You go
ends up taking
home,
the reins.
You need to go home and connect.
Yes. So here's the thing, and this is the hardest thing. It's so simple, but it's so hard. You have to be intentional all day. You don't get to go home and disconnect. Like, you don't get to do that. Guess when you get to disconnect is when you plan days and moments. And here's the thing: if you feel like it's not disconnecting when you get to spend time with your family, you've got to realign something. You've got to figure something out, because your family should be your safety net. They should be where you go to get away from everything.
That was brought up the other day. Your family, okay, like your wife, your husband, whatever the case, that should be your island of peace.
Yeah, it should be.
When you go home, that's where you
degree.
should feel the most peaceful.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna have to exit the broadcast because I just realized I was like, oh, I don't think I left the key out for the kids.
Okay.
Way to go, Dan.
Well,
You know what? I
added
could
a
make.
lot.
I'm really going to make a valiant effort here to not make a Marine joke.
That's probably good because yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to leave that
Yeah,
there.
we're just gonna leave it there.
Leave it right there.
All right, we're gonna pause. Love you guys.
Yeah, love you too, man.
Real men say they love you.
I said I love you.
Say I love you, not love you, not love you. I love you. No.
Oh, wow. More blooper reels. Hey, glad you got to be with us.
Yeah, man.
Maybe next time, wait for me.
You still left a key or didn't leave a key.
I didn't know anything.
All right, we're still going. So
Well, we're back again.
yeah, we're back again. So
But yeah, anyway, getting back to that, like going to your family, when you get home, if you feel like you've got to escape from your family too,
something's wrong.
yeah, there's something really wrong. And here's the thing: when you do that, a lot of men, and I was talking to my wife about this last night, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with this, because every man should have something, a place where that's theirs. But when you build a place out back, everyone calls it the man cave, right? You got the shed or the room or whatever it is, and that's where you spend your time when you're home, because you can't put yourself in front of your family. You don't it drains you to spend time with your family. That's not okay. That's really not okay. When you do that, guess who's stepping into that intentional role? Your wife, your spouse, your significant other. They are doing that. And if you're the one that's supposed to be carrying the reins there, you are handing them over to her.
Which is not fair to her.
No, it's not fair to her. She doesn't want that.
Because now
Most
she's
of the
trying
most
to,
of-
if
most
she's
of the
doing
time.
what she's I say supposed to, that sounds so bad, but if she's doing what is required of her under the the plan that God has for us,
Yeah.
that puts undue stress on her. She's now having to step into two roles,
Yeah.
and that's not fair.
Yeah.
And am I guilty of it? Yes, I am. I sit there and tell everybody right now, I am guilty of being a crappy husband. The last almost 10 years, I have hopefully really, really tried, because I mean, she's just a blessing to me, as I'm sure you see your wife as a blessing to you.
Oh, absolutely.
What's the Bible say? A man that finds how does that verse go? I wish I could remember it. A man that finds a wife finds.
It's a good thing. It's a proverb. I can't remember like word for word. I'm not good at details.
But basically, you find a great reward. Basically,
Yeah.
But we need to step in and fill those roles that we need to, because if we're not, we're putting undue stress, undue work, undue pressure on the one we say that we're supposed to love.
Absolutely. And here's the thing: if you get home and you don't like your kids, they're bothering you, and they're, all over you, and you're just getting angry, you've got to do a better job raising your kids. You've got because if you don't like your kids, no one else is going to like your kids. I'm sorry. Actually, Jordan Peterson talks about this. Raise your kids so that you like them. Help them become people that are enjoyable to be around. And I try to do that. I try to teach them, hey, this is what it's like when you're around other people. Yeah. This is what we do. This is how we act. You don't act like that whenever you're around other people. Right. You can let loose a little bit while we're home, and you can play, and they feel, listen, I know my kids feel comfortable around me because they'll do things around us that they would never do around anybody else. And they're free. They've got an entire garage that we've dedicated just for them. It's for them to play in and do all these things. And they love it, and they're very well taken care of. And I love to give them whatever they want. At the same time,
you can't.
No, you can't. And I'm very intentional with spending time letting them see that I see them, letting them know, letting them catch me spending time in the Word, letting them catch me loving my wife well, letting them catch me do things where they don't see that I'm trying to put on a show for them, but that they see, hey, mommy and daddy love each other. Daddy takes this. He doesn't just go to church. He comes home and he reads his Bible. He prays. He prays with us. He sets up things. He leads well. He makes decisions well. And he involves mommy in everything. And mommy and him, they stand side by side in a lot of things.
That's very important. And that was taught, early on in my childhood. My mother was not the most, don't get me wrong, my mother's an amazing woman as well. My dad was way more affectionate than my mother was, but they intentionally wanted us to see that, my sister and I.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Your kids should see you two as a couple. There's not, okay, there's mommy over here and there's daddy over here. Because when you have that separation there, they're going to be tempted to play the two against each other.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly important for your children to see you intentionally loving each other.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean they need to see you making out in the corner and stuff. That's not what I'm talking about.
Not that at all.
That is completely private.
No.
But they need to see you with, the physical affection, hug your wife in front of them, kiss your wife in front of them.
Yeah.
Same thing, hug your husband, be intentional with it so they can see that. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. And, my wife and I will hug in the kitchen in the mornings. Like we have this ritual. We get up and we do our thing, and we always meet back in the kitchen and we'll give each other a hug. And our kids see that, and they always try to get in that, they always come and they come.
Because it's a good thing. They want to be part of that.
Exactly. And they feel relaxed because they're like, okay, mommy and daddy are good. The leadership in this home is good, and everyone's comfortable, so we're comfortable.
And when your kids can pick up on that, man.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You can watch Paxton. Mackenzie is, she's 20 years old. She still lives at home, but she can see it sometimes.
Yeah.
But Paxton's 8 years old. And, we're subject to the same stressors that every other marriage is subject to. So we do have arguments, as I'm sure you and Jess do.
Yeah.
Your kids can see that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And when they see that, you can sometimes watch your child if they heard the argument. And you can see it in their faces.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
I remember watching, and I'm going to bring up something that my mom probably wouldn't want me to talk about. But as good as my dad was, he was human. And they had some pretty, nothing ever got physical. But they had some pretty, hairy arguments, we'll say. Some very heated, passionate discussions. And there were times that I'm like, oh, man, what's this mean for us?
Yeah.
At no point were there ever, any threat that they were going to divorce one.
Right.
But, as a kid, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know what's going on.
But at the same time, back in that generation, divorce wasn't that prevalent. So that wouldn't be the first thing that went through my mind. It was just, is everything okay with mom and dad?
Yeah.
Nowadays, 50% divorce rate for the average human being in different professions, it's even higher.
Yeah.
So your kids sit there and watch you, and half of their buddies are from broken families.
Right.
Mommy and daddy are fighting. Are they getting divorced?
Yeah.
Those things go through their head. I don't want my child to have that thought. I do not, because I don't want him to see that as normal.
Yeah.
He shouldn't see that as normal.
Yeah. And if you have an argument, you can take that somewhere where the child doesn't see.
Right.
It's okay for you to disagree. It's okay to disagree. And it's okay for your child to see that you disagree and how you handle that. Especially if you handle it well.
If
you're able to disagree and not yell and have a reasonable conversation and say, well, here's why I think this is this way and you think this way. Okay, well, maybe we need to talk about this later. Yeah. And if your child sees that, that's fine. What your child doesn't need to see is, I'm still uncomfortable and I'm angry and we're upset with each other and we're yelling and I don't know that I can even talk to her right now. And, all these things, they don't need to see that. The really nitty gritty detailed arguing and upset, emotional mommy and daddy, that's not what they need to see. Jess and I, we had a moment like that the other day where we just didn't feel comfortable with each other. We were upset and she was going through some things and it was about somebody and, we just could not get on the same page, and we were trying to be discreet with our kids, and we're in the kitchen and they're playing in the living room, and she goes into the laundry room and I was like, okay, this is perfect. So I go in the laundry room, I close the door and I'm like, okay, look, we've got to figure this out. I can't go the rest of the...
You try to do that too.
Yeah. I can't go the rest of the day not knowing what's going on, you know, and us being in the air, and neither can our kids. And so we figured it out. We worked it out. We talked about it. And part of that is being self-aware, saying, look, I'm uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable. What's going on? And dealing with that. And then we did, and we figured out what was going on. We nipped it in the butt, and then we walked out, and we were good. You know, and
is it not so hard to be discreet a lot of times?
Oh my gosh.
Man,
when you feel,
worst.
when you're so angry or you're so emotional and you're upset and you're just like, oh,
you're trying to get your point across to your spouse.
Yeah.
But you're not wanting your kids to see it. And you're like,
yeah, it's like, honey, I do not agree with you. You know, like you're just talking through your teeth, you know, but, I think one of the biggest things I've learned about, and I grew up in a household, my parents were great. My parents are fantastic. They're still together. They had a hiccup in their life at one point, but they're amazing parents. But I did grow up. I mean, there was a lot of yelling. They fought a lot when we were younger, but they always worked it out. They just that's the way they argued. And I grew up in it was difficult sometimes because I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to get when I go downstairs. What I learned though, because they were so loud, they would yell, you know, I could hear it all the way upstairs. And if I can just stay quiet, if I can just keep this kind of conversational tone going, at the highest, if I'm talking to Jess, it'd probably be something like this.
Right.
But I'm not like, yeah, like I'm not like going for
You're not stressing your children.
Right.
Yeah.
Because our kids need to see when we disagree, we don't yell.
Yeah.
And we listen and we ask questions. And when I keep that in my head, I'm like, okay, that helps me bring my tone down, bring my volume down. And, you know, they can see, okay, all right, this isn't. And also, Jess and I are both singers, so it can get loud quick if we really wanted it to, like we could project. But anyway.
I've heard that. So.
But that's parenting in that sense. But as far as being a man in your household, being a leader, what I've noticed is when I'm spending time with the Lord, Jess is spending time with the Lord, and I'm really taking the time to what you said earlier, initiate spiritual conversation with her and get her thinking and get my children thinking and doing these things. She is absolutely attracted to that. She loves that.
What do you think that is?
I think women love when the man fulfills the role that they feel like that the woman feels like they should be fulfilling.
Because, most guys, and guilty right here, in my younger years, I got to be big, I got to be buff, I got to be tough, I got to be gruff.
Yeah.
That's what women want. Ugh.
Yeah. Some women might.
And, I think initially on the surface, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But in reality, where's the deeper commitment?
Yeah.
Where's the deeper meaning behind, that love?
Yeah. Well, most men don't really understand women. I mean, now I'm not saying I don't have it figured out.
Bro,
I don't
if
have
you want to sit there
women
and tell
figured
me
out.
you got women figured out, we're
No,
going to have to end
I
this
don't have
podcast
women
now.
figured out, but I've talked with my wife enough to know what she wants. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what my wife wants from me.
Right.
Do I always want to be that? No, not at all. But most of the time I try as hard as I possibly can. She sees that.
Right.
And in her seeing that, I think it's like, okay, he is devoted to me. Mm-hmm. He's devoted to me. He does this for himself first, for sure. Like he loves God and he seeks after God because he loves God. But he also does that because he wants the best for our family. And there is something, I think, very attractive about that, for a woman, is that he's sacrificing himself. He's doing whatever he can to make himself better so that we can all be better. Like that's such a, who wouldn't want to be a part of something like that?
I agree.
Who wouldn't want to follow someone like that? I think that's why Jesus, he's so compelling because he did that. Yeah. He gave himself up. He's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes for everyone else to prosper and have a relationship with the Lord.
So let's go into, all right, so let's say that is something that we all need to do as men. We need to be that spiritual leader in our home.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that is very important. That, the thing that we'll put the link up. It's a really good little quick reel.
Yeah.
It's just great. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It's really good.
It really made me sit there and go, that's actually really, but it also made me think it's true.
Yeah.
Because when I'm being that ego-driven, gruff guy that I can be,
yeah,
Erica tends to, I can tell.
Yeah.
When I'm being that spiritual leader that she wants me to be, when I'm being, one thing she told me the other day, she says, I love the fact that you're literally doing everything you can to follow God. Mm. She said, that's what makes me happy. Yeah. And things are better.
Yeah.
We connect better. We get along better.
Right.
Not that we get along bad anyway. We have a very good relationship. She's my best friend. Mm-hmm. But it's so much better.
Yeah.
And does that make me want to do it for selfish reasons? Maybe. But at the same time, I know that it's what my family needs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because my kids need to see us like that.
Yeah.
Your kids need to, something else I want to add too, they don't need to just see you showing love to your spouse. They need to see you two as one unit.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that was kind of driven home when Mackenzie sat there and said the other day, it doesn't matter what I say. You and Mom have already got your, she said, you and Mom have already got your minds made up. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And Paxton will try it. He's 8. He's going to try it. Hey, Mom, can I do this? Well, no. Hey, Dad, can I? What'd your mom say?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to play that game.
Yeah.
And they need to see you that way.
Yeah.
So that brings me into, I said I wanted to come back to that earlier. You talked about the nuclear family.
Yeah.
So if we're being that spiritual person in our homes, in our marriage, in our raising of our children,
yeah,
we're trying to really recreate that nuclear family that society's trying to destroy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you brought it up that if we got back to the nuclear family, that would fix probably 75% of the problems today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because you're always going to have those people that are just going to be trolls.
Yeah.
But I think that a big part of what's wrong with our society is because we've totally ditched the health of the nuclear family. Absolutely, 100%. And we're flipping it all on its head, and we're trying to, make it about something it was never meant to be about. And
what do you think it's trying to be made about now? If you don't, that might put you on the spot. But what do you think?
Yeah, well, your pleasure. It's really just about your pleasure.
About what you want.
Yeah, what you want. That's really it. And that's just not what it was ever meant to be about. The family is supposed to be about giving up what you want for the benefit of the family. Right. The Eastern idea, the Bible's an Eastern book. it grew up from that idea. I mean, like it was birthed out of that idea, and the reason why that idea exists is because of God. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, in the body of Christ is a family,
Right.
and the immediate family, your biological family, is supposed to be a shadow of the family of the church body, which Jesus considered to be more his family than his biological family in a sense,
Right,
Mary and Joseph and her sons. And so when we flip it and we say, well, no, it's about my pleasures, it's about what I want, the family cannot thrive when the person who's supposed to be the leader, the father, the man, has a ego mentality. It just can't. Because the wrong people step into the wrong positions. The wife has to step up and start doing things I don't know the statistics and I don't know the data behind it, but when looking at children in single family households, I would assume, I'd guess, and this is probably not true, but I would feel like when kids grow up without a father, if they grow up without a father or a mother, it's awful. I mean, it should not be so.
Right.
And their kids are messed up from both. I believe. But parents try and do their best, the ones that really do. I mean, I'm sure the kids turn out great, sometimes, but I would assume when kids grow up without a father, I really feel like it has a major impact, maybe more of an impact than not having a mother.
Sure it does.
Because there's just something, both sides. I mean, to be honest, both sides. I mean, you grow up without a mother and just a father, you're missing a huge part of yourself. You grow up without a father, but there's something that the father provides that absolutely no one can provide.
All right, so both the mother and the father are going to provide separate things.
Yeah.
They're going to provide two different things.
Yeah.
The father is going to provide strength, courage, and not saying that women can't do that, but
yeah,
he's going to provide that strength, that masculinity, that protection, that I'm here to take care of my family. If he's doing what he's supposed to be doing,
yeah, absolutely,
he's going to provide that element in that young man's
self-sacrifice
life. And in that, even to some degree, in that young girl's life, the mother's going to provide that I'm here to love you, nurture you, care for you, and you need all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the different roles that we have to play. That's why God he set it up that way.
Absolutely.
I mean, people were the ones that said, no, we got a better plan.
Yeah.
We started listening to the devil who wanted to destroy it all anyway.
Right.
And, that's the reason for the destruction of the nuclear family.
Yeah. Well, and the idea today isn't, moms are leaving their kids. It's fathers dads. They're
it's just
not
as destructive on a young girl, though.
Oh yeah,
to not have a father in the home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then that young girl doesn't have that. Again, not to say that the mother can't be that, but it's not fair for her to have to be that.
No,
not to have to provide everything.
No,
I would say that it's not fair for the father to have to do the same thing.
Yeah,
because the father provides that to a young girl who's going to take care of her when something bad happens.
Yeah.
She's going to go to daddy.
Yeah.
Because she knows that she's daddy's little girl.
Yeah. My kids get hurt, they run to me.
They're coming to daddy.
Yeah. I mean, that's just,
now, if they need their boo-boo kissed or they need, they're going to go to mommy. But if somebody needs to, please, daddy, look out for me.
Yeah.
That little girl's got a bond with her daddy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, going back is that both have a role to play in that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's the fathers are leaving the homes.
Yeah.
Right. And that's such a devastating thing on the family.
Yeah. Well, and the men are under such attack. And I think there's a point there, and the reason why I'm saying all this about men is because I think there's a reason why the enemy is honing in on men. I think that women are under attack, absolutely, just in a very different way. But he seems to be winning the battle on all fronts when it comes to men in that sense. It's like you got the sexualization, like the complete degradation of a man's sexuality and understanding what women want happening. Absolutely. And if you can get that going, you're going to really ruin the nuclear family altogether. It's snuck into.
We're taught from an early age.
Yeah.
And especially if the father is, if a godly father is not in the family,
Right.
Where are you getting all this information from?
Yeah, exactly.
You're getting this information from internet, you're getting this information from TV,
Yeah.
from movies, and they're all telling you that women want this, and it's not accurate.
And no, it's not. It's just not
not
true.
accurate
It's
at
literally
all.
just not true. Yeah.
The belief of how men should be as a man, how they should be in the bedroom.
Yep.
It's all false.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Exactly.
100% false.
We're being fed a completely false narrative about what it means to live
Exactly.
life as a man or as a woman, as women. Men will be attracted to you physically if you are scantily dressed or immodest. They will be attracted to you. That's just the way men are, because they're very visual creatures. But you're not going to find a man that is going to actually be able to provide and take care of you
Right.
until that man is able to see you in a way that you're not just a piece of meat.
And on the flip side of that, men, if that's what you're looking for, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
You're looking for a temporary, satisfaction to something that is a much deeper problem.
Oh yeah.
I guess you would say.
Yeah.
I don't know how to any other
to
way
me,
put it.
to me, it's a much stronger man that looks for a woman that he can take care of, not a woman that he can just take advantage of.
I agree. I think that we've been fed a whole lot of lies,
Yeah.
and there's so many things out there. We could sit there and talk about the nuclear family for 3 hours.
Oh yeah. I mean, the parenthood and the family is like a huge topic.
But that's the whole thing behind it.
Yeah.
The nuclear family has been destroyed, and until we can get it back together,
Yeah.
I think we're going to continue to have problems as a society.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, I think that getting it back together would take care of itself. And we wouldn't even have to really try to do anything. I think that things would take care of themselves. 75% of the problems going on right now could be solved by the promotion and the getting back together of the nuclear family, and that being the standard.
Yes.
Not, well, you do you. If you're not happy, here's $250 for uncontested divorce.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Everybody listening out here that knows me is probably sitting there with their jaw dropped right now, because that was me. And I hate to say that was me. Now, I go back to I wasn't with the right person. God had a plan for me, and I know that. I know that right now. And I know that there would be people that would argue with me. Well, the Bible says this, and you know what? I agree with what the Bible says. I do, 100%.
Yeah.
But I know God had a plan for me.
Yeah.
And where I am right now is what he was preparing me for.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Erica. And I would sit there and I use the things that I went through to try to get people to not be like me,
Yeah. Right.
because I was destructive.
Yeah. I got you.
And I want to be that spiritual
Yeah.
compass, maybe, for my family.
Yeah.
Is that
absolutely.
the right term?
Oh,
Would that be the
absolutely.
right term? I mean,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when your kids come to you and they have a moral issue, like something going on, like how should they treat this person, or how should they feel about this thing, or how do we take care of this issue? They come to you, and your only response is the only thing you can think. The only vast amount of knowledge or storehouse that you have in your mind has to do with football, hunting, video games,
drinking, chasing women.
If that's it,
You got nothing.
there's nothing you have to offer your kids. You've got nothing to offer them that's life.
I can teach you how to skin a deer, but
Yeah, how's that going to help you whenever you've got to figure out, navigate the moral issues that are, absolutely surrounding kids these days. It's like, how do I love somebody? like that's a big, what does that mean to love somebody truly in a deep and real way?
I go back to my generation coming up. And even before my generation coming up, now I used to watch my grandmother and my grandfather. They get in some knockdown, drag-out fights.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they weren't punching and shoving each other.
Yeah.
But you talk about some name-calling from the two of them. And sometimes I thought it was funny. And you know why I thought it was funny? Because not one time did I ever think, well, grandmama and granddaddy are going to get divorced.
Yeah.
That just didn't happen.
Right.
That was when people got married back in that day, they committed.
Yeah, it was it. There's no prenup.
There was no nothing. There was no, all right, if the old saying, hey, if you don't like me today, go take a nap. We'll work it out tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's, Jess and I, we told each other, we were like, if this doesn't work out, we're probably going to be dead. That's it. That's the only reason why our marriage wouldn't work out.
And we
made that choice.
That is, again, fast forward to today, Erica and I both recognize this. She's got, she's a prior divorcee herself, and living through all that, we fell into what the world says you should be like now. Oh, if it doesn't work out, just give up.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, do you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, commitment doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
And we have said multiple times, we have taken divorce as an option off of the table.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to see that.
Yes.
But again, that goes back to, if I'm pointing to my phone because I read my Bible on my phone because it's easier.
Yeah.
But I should be carrying my Bible around, which I carry it in my bag.
Yeah.
But it goes back to that book. With us doing that, we're saying, hey, we're adhering to what God's telling us to do.
Yeah.
We made a covenant with each other.
Right.
And we're going to live by it.
Right. And when your wife knows that you've dedicated yourself to growing in leadership according to what Scripture says, you're trying to do everything right by the Lord, she will joyfully submit to you, because then you're a leader she wants to follow.
Exactly.
Not one that she hates and thinks is
You know what?
awful.
Maybe she was sending me a message when she sent me that little clip. She said, hey, you guys need to talk about this. And, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I do. I'll go one even farther. When your wife is joyfully submitting to you as the leader of your home and the husband, how does that make you look at her?
Oh my gosh, Jess the other day, because she's got to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they can't trust you, that's where I think a lot of men don't get it, because they don't understand trust.
Mm-hmm.
Period. They don't understand integrity. Which is to have good character. It's to be who you say you are in public and private.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife will never follow you if you're a different person around other people, and then you come home and you're a totally different person.
Exactly.
Why would she ever follow that?
Right.
She would say, you know what? I can do better than that. So I will. That's usually what happens. They end up doing better than that. But it doesn't work. It's not a good foundation. It's not a good formula or system. But, it all comes down to trust. It really does. And so Jess, the other day, I had said something to the kids. We were cleaning up in the garage. I said, girls, it's time for your shower, and it was like 6:30. They usually take their shower around like 7 o'clock, and they were like a little like, oh, this is a little early, but they had been playing all day. And so they said, it's not time yet. And Jess goes, your daddy spoke. It's time for you to go take a shower. And even if she didn't agree with me.
How did that make you feel?
Oh my gosh. I was like, heck yeah. I was like,
Erica does the same thing. She'll sit there and even if she doesn't agree with me, and she'll make it known that she didn't agree. I'm like, okay, I get it. But that's, but she, not one time has she ever sat there and looked at Paxton and said, no, it's okay. You can do. No.
Right.
It's, hey, do what your dad said.
That's right. Yeah.
And man, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's all right.
Dude, do what I said. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, you're right. Because what that does isn't that I'm like, it doesn't feed my ego. It makes me think,
she's trying.
She loves me. She supports me.
Right.
And man, that makes me want to be better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, the decisions I'm making need to mean something because she's supporting me now. I need to be a good leader here. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean, oh yeah, I get to say whatever and everybody will just do what I want.
That is such an immature look at the way.
Oh yeah, totally. No, it should lead you to say, okay, I'm going to love them even better because I'm going to do better. I'm going to be a better leader.
I see that this is pleasing her.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want her to feel that peace, that joy, that happiness, that trust.
Yeah.
I want her to be 100% all in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work even harder to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what it should say to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
exactly.
The world would have us believe, well, that's completely backwards.
Yeah.
Who are you? That's weak. That's this. That's it. No, that's absolutely the 180 degrees away from weak to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is you being the man that you're called to be in God's plan on how you should live your life.
Yeah. 100%.
If we start at home and we do that at home, that's going to start radiating out into the rest of the world. If every man stepped up and lived just by that simple code right there.
Yeah.
Let me be the spiritual leader in my home.
Yeah.
Let me do what it is that God leads me to do.
Right.
The way God wants me to do.
Yeah.
I dare say that would start radiating out so much into society and into the world that it would probably fix more than 75% of the world's problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like your family will become what did Vadi Bakum say? Bakum? Is that how you say his last name? I can't remember. But he said, my children are missiles being launched from my silo.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that's what we're doing when we're being the spiritual leaders, when we're doing operating on all cylinders and devoted to the Lord, submitted to him, submitted to our wives in a way that we are leading them well. Like we love them, we're sacrificing ourselves for them, and then they love us and they support us. Like we're right there. You know, you're creating an atmosphere where children are going to grow up and they're going to be unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be powerful people because they're going to operate in the same manner, and that'll flip a community on its head if everybody starts doing that. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
On the flip side of that, if you're not doing that,
Mm-hmm.
you're not being that for your wife, your children, your family as a whole.
Yeah.
You don't think somebody's going to come in and take that position?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Lead
It's
them
like,
in-
and then
lead
you
them
wonder,
and then you wonder what's happened.
what happened? Yeah, where did I go wrong? It's like, well, you stopped checking in with your wife. You stopped being the leader you were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
You stopped connecting with your kids.
Let's just take the list here and let me show you what's
Yeah, you're not providing any of their needs.
And I can say that because I've lived that.
Yeah,
I was
And,
that.
Man, your wife's number one need is not sexual satisfaction. That's your number one need, but it's not theirs. I guarantee it. It's not theirs. But the world wants us to think they want the man to be so egocentric and so prideful to say, all I have to do for my wife is give her money and my body, and that's it. And then
That's not true.
they'll be satisfied. It's the exact opposite. Jess has told me, she's like, you know when I feel the most secure, like when I want you the most, is when you're leading well, obviously, but you're providing for all of my needs. All my needs are met, and I don't have to think, I don't have to worry, and I don't have to stress. When that's taken care of, my mind is free, and I'm good. I feel free. I feel liberated, and I can focus on you. I can focus on our family. I can do whatever I want at that point, you know? And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes so much more sense.
If none of the men that listened to what we just sat there and said don't hear anything but that right there, because that is such a deep thought right there.
Yeah, you're sacrificing yourself for the freedom of your wife to be burdened down by the things that you should be taking care of.
And with what she told you, that should open up people's minds right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
should, because
Yeah.
now she can focus on you.
Yeah, exactly. She can focus on supporting you.
And I know that sounds like
and
I'm
taking care of the kids.
I know that sounds like I'm saying, hey, do this because she'll do that.
Yeah.
No, we should do these things because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yes. Yeah. But
if
it
what
has
you're-
a good
it's got-
byproduct.
Dadgum sure has a really
Yeah.
good benefit to it.
Yeah,
So,
it does. It totally does, you know? And if we can get that, I mean, it'll change your life. If you can really believe that to be true about your wife and stop thinking that she's going to go after these other men because of their bodies. No, she'll go after them because they can provide for her the resources she needs. Women, if you think biologically, I mean, they are motivated to find a man that is going to take care of them. They don't care what the man looks. Have you ever seen a woman that's like drop dead gorgeous and she's with this guy that's ugly? I mean, just absolutely.
Yeah.
And she's devoted to him. She would never leave him. There's no reason. It's because that man is taking care of every single one of her needs, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. He's providing it.
Yeah.
And that woman is good. She's cushy, you know, like she's living in a great life at that point. And why would she ever give that up? She won't. A woman will never give something like that up. She's not a gold digger. It's just that's what the man was created to take care of the wife so that the wife can take care of the children. When that happens, that drop down happens, all of these things happen in the way that they should be happening, and you guys support one another and make decisions going forward as a team, you know, it all seems to fall into place, and the wife can be liberated in that way.
It's kind of like a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
when everything's
Just put the pieces in the right
whenever
spot.
all the pieces fall into the right place, it makes this beautiful picture.
And the craziest thing is usually the missing puzzle piece. It's yourself.
Yep. I agree with that. And I think that's probably a good way to end what we've been talking about. I think that was good.
You are the missing piece.
You are the missing piece. Guys, stop being the missing piece.
Yeah.
Listen to there's a lot of wisdom that came out today, not necessarily from me, but from these other two that were over here. Be the man in your home.
Yeah.
Step up, be the man in your home for the right reasons. Be the man in your home to lead, to be that spiritual guide, lead your family, lead your wife, lead your children in how God wants you to be leading them.
Absolutely.
And listen to what he tells you, man. Mm-hmm. You'd be amazed at how much of a difference that would make.
Yeah.
Not in only your family's life, but in the world.
Yep. Amen.
I guess that's hope everybody got something out of today. Like I said, today is just kind of me and Thomas was just going to be Thomas and me rambling on.
And Clay for a little while.
Clay kind of popped in on us. I'm glad he did. He brings another level of intelligence to it. I know it's a Marine level, but it's okay. Again, Marines, I love you guys, man. I'm just kidding with you. I really am. I love you guys.
I do not adhere to any of these thoughts. I don't. I'm totally separate from this. Pretend there's a wall, right?
Such a hard time by Marines. I have to give them. One of the guys that was in. I was his sergeant. He was a Marine, and he was one of the best guys that I had working under me. I've got to give him a hard time because he gave me a hard time. Love you guys to death, but it is what it is. So hey, continue to watch. We're glad you joined us today. Go to YouTube, go to Apple, go to all the places that we're at.
Yep.
And give us those likes, give us that support, subscribe, comment, tell us what else you want to talk about. Bring us people to put on the show.
Yeah.
Outside of that, man, I hope that everybody has a wonderful week. And Thomas, you got anything else?
Nope. That's it. That's all I got.
We love you. Y'all have a great day.